All right, we are at 10:01. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Business Support Series webinar, How to Navigate Provincial Funding Programs to Help You Hire and Train Staff. This is really timely event, given that we are getting ready to reopen. We're heading into phase 3 and getting back into our new normal. I'm Patty Dow. I'm the Member Services Specialist here at the Halifax Chamber of Commerce and your host for today's session. We've got two experts with us this morning from the Department of Labor and Advanced Education. They're here to teach us about the provincial funding programs that are available for you to help you to help you hire and train staff so that you can grow your business. Thanks to everyone who has submitted questions ahead of time. However, if you do have questions as we're going through the presentation, feel free to type them in the Q&A box, and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. Our first presenter this morning is Margaret Schwartz. She is the Strategic Initiatives and Youth Outreach Coordinator, Youth Employment Programs. Whew, that's a title, Margaret, with the Department of Labor and Advanced Education. Our second guest this morning is Carla Park. She is with Employment Services. My goodness, she's the Employment Services Representative with the Department of Labor and Advanced Education. Say that 6 times. Whew, that's a handful. So welcome, Margaret and Carla, and thanks everyone for joining us. Over to you, Margaret.
Thank you so much, Patty. How's my volume?
It's good.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for having us today. And as Patty shared, both myself and Carla were with the provincial government, so Department of Labor and Advanced Education. And really, we recognize that small businesses in Nova Scotia are going through a really challenging time, particularly in this last year, and that folks have been under a lot of financial strain as a result of the pandemic. So we really wanted to come and join with you today to speak to some of our programs that help you with both your hiring needs, your training needs, where to go to access talent and support, even in a one-on-one setting, and how to go about applying for the funding opportunities that our department offers for small businesses in Nova Scotia. So I'm going to speak particularly to hiring incentives. So that's if you're looking at hiring a younger worker, a co-op student, or you're looking at hiring an unemployed person, maybe someone who was laid off as a result of the pandemic, as well as we'll even touch on apprenticeship. So I'll speak to the hiring subsidies that we offer, and my colleague Carla, she'll speak after about some of the training programs and funding opportunities that we have there. And thanks to folks for introducing yourselves in the chat. It's really nice to know where you are in the province, the business that you represent. So feel free to introduce yourself. And yeah, as Patty shared, feel free to pop questions into the Q&A and we will get to them throughout. And at the end, we'll have some time if folks want to ask more questions and we can address them within this hour. So I'm going to get started. And there. So the first couple of programs that I'm going to talk about are specific for hiring youth, particularly post-secondary talent. These are the programs that I work most closely with. We've made a handful of changes or adaptations to them to make them a little more accessible to employers during the last year. And the first program I'm going to talk about is the Co-op Education Incentive. So you may be familiar with co-op programs that exist at a number of universities in Nova Scotia, where a student typically takes on a work term for about 4 months. Most students in a co-op program are required to take 3 co-op placements as a part of their degree. And of course, we want employers to be able to offer those hands-on work placements. And so we can subsidize the cost of hiring a co-op student. Some of you on the call may have already accessed this program. Maybe you've already applied and you've got funding for this summer, or this could be new to you. So what we provide, as long as you're able to pay a co-op student $15 an hour, we will reimburse you $7.50 an hour, so half that wage, or $9 an hour if that student identifies with a group that's currently underrepresented in the workforce. So that could be an Indigenous Mi'kmaq student, African Nova Scotian, a student living with a disability, any racially visible student, a female working in a non-traditional industry or occupation, such as a female engineer, and also international students as well. For our programs, for the youth hiring programs, we don't require international students to have a permanent residency to be hired. They could be on a working visa of some kind and are definitely able to be supported with our programs. So for you to be eligible as a co-op employer, you can be any private sector or government funded organization or nonprofit or charity. It's really, there's a lot of room here. Most employers in the province are eligible, and that student that you're looking at hiring, they do have to be taking part in a mandatory co-op program at their university, or NSCC has a couple of co-op programs as well. Some of the things that we've done recently, and so for those of you who have taken part in co-op in the last number of semesters or maybe this summer, you may be aware that you're able to stack our funding with a federal SWIP partner. We're not sure yet if this offer is going to extend into the fall. It's kind of determined on a case-by-case basis. Nearing the end of the summer, we might know more. But for those of you who are approved for co-op funding this summer, make sure you check out any of the SWIP partners. I can be sure to send those out in an email after to the chamber if anyone's interested. So when you do apply for co-op funding, you kind of have to think a whole semester in advance. So if you were looking at hiring someone for this coming winter term that starts January, we're looking way ahead here, our application portal opens on August 15th. So that's coming up, and it's open for a month until September 15th. So you've got a month window in there where you can apply and submit an application to get funding for the coming winter term. One of the first steps, though, it's really important to reach out to a co-op office at a university to post your job, to say, you know, this is a position that we'd love to advertise to your business students or your nutritional science students, and get an endorsement from the co-op office. We work very closely with them, and we have a list of all of those co-op coordinators across the province on our website. So that is the co-op program. Something that I'll mention is LAMPS. That is our online application portal system that an employer needs to have an account with to apply for any of these funding programs that we're going to talk about today. So that's a really great first step if you're starting to think about accessing our government funding. Creating that profile in LAMPS is the first step. Again, I can send out instructions for that, but you can also find it on any of our program web pages. It will prompt you to create a profile if you don't already have one. So the next program I'm going to talk to you about is Graduate to Opportunity. This is a funding incentive if you are planning on hiring a recent graduate out of a post-secondary institution. So that could be from someone from a university, a college, or a private college. And it doesn't have to be specific to Nova Scotia. They could have graduated somewhere else in Canada, BC, Ontario, or in a different country. But as long as they want to live and work in Nova Scotia, they can be hired with this funding incentive. So what you can get is 25% of their first year salary, 35% if they identify with an underrepresented group, the same ones for the co-op program, and then 12.5% of that second year salary. So you're getting funding, kind of a subsidy there for 2 years. So for you to be eligible, you can be any of the following: a small business, and we classify that as a company that has less than 100 full-time staff. So that's a lot of businesses because we're a small business province, and I think the majority of companies in Nova Scotia have less than 10 staff. Startups, eligible, nonprofits or registered charities, as well as social enterprises. So if you fit into one of those categories, you are eligible for this funding. And we have a lot of funding in the pot. So if you're eligible and you apply, you will most likely be approved. For grad to be eligible, they just have to have completed post-secondary education in the last 12 months. So for example, anyone who's graduated this May, they have until May of 2022 where you could potentially hire them with this funding. And as long as you're able to offer them a new permanent full-time job that's paying a minimum of $30,000 annually, that qualifies. The average salary that we have been seeing in Halifax for this program is around $40,000. A lot of the jobs that we're seeing created are in IT, marketing, business. We've had a number of engineers, articling students. Really, this covers anything from any degree. It's a very wide range, and over the past 6 years, which is how long the program has been around for, over just about 1,600 grads have been hired with this program in Nova Scotia. It's really about retaining younger workers and helping them see a future and a potential in Nova Scotia, while allowing employers to tap into that talent. And I know we're getting a couple questions. I know someone has just asked, can GTO be for remote work opportunity if the student lives outside NS? So it is important that the student lives in Nova Scotia for this program. We want them to be paying taxes here. However, they can do remote work from home. So if they're working from home for a period of time because of the pandemic, but they're in Nova Scotia, that certainly qualifies. And someone asked what SWIP was, sorry, to go back to co-op for a quick moment, Student Work Placement Program. And those are federally funded. So I'm not the expert on them as we're talking about provincial, but we are able to stack our co-op, our provincial co-op with one of those federal student work placement programs. And just an example of some of those, it could be ICTC, Magnet, Venture for Canada, BioTalent. There's a handful of those. So I'll try and leave questions to the end. I get distracted when I see the chat. All right. So the third program I'll mention here around youth hiring incentives is Innovate to Opportunity. This is a 3-year salary subsidy that we offer to small and medium enterprises who are interested in hiring recent master's or PhD level talent for jobs specifically focused on innovation, product development, research, anything that's going to help that company expand its export potential. So selling their products or services outside of Nova Scotia. This is our newest program. It's been around for 2 years now. And on the next slide, it will show the breakdown of what kind of subsidy you can get. But as long as that graduate's job description applies to some of the bullet points you'll see there in blue on this webpage, on the slide, then it could qualify for this funding. So applied research, market analysis for new and complex products, and improvement of product quality, customer services, and business efficiencies. So we're starting to see an increase in the amount of companies that are using this program, particularly as they've had to innovate their service offerings during the pandemic. And a lot of employers are seeing the benefits that younger workers bring in terms of shifting quickly and offering new services. So you could be eligible for either the innovation stream or the advanced innovation stream. And the main difference between the two is the amount of time that the grad is spending on those innovation related activities. So for example, in the innovation stream, they have to be spending at least 25% of their time on those activities. In the advanced innovation stream, they're spending at least 75% of their time. So you'll see the subsidies are greater there, 50% in the first year, 25% in the second, 12.5% in the third. A diversity bonus can be added to both the first and the second year. So that's the Innovate to Opportunity program. Another program that we have for creating jobs in the summer, and I did leave this towards the end because I'm making you aware of it for next year because the deadline did close for this summer. But for anyone who's a nonprofit or registered charity, you can get a portion of a summer student's wage covered. They don't have to be in a co-op program or work in a graded learning program. It's just for a summer job of any kind. So as long as they're making minimum wage, you can be reimbursed $9.10 an hour or $10.10 if they're from an equity seeking group. They just have to be returning to post-secondary education in the fall. So the take home with this one is how early you have to apply. So if you're thinking of applying for this in the future, our portal opens up in December of this year, planning for next year. And it'll be open for a month. And that will be the time to apply. So I just wanted to put that on your radar for folks who didn't get the opportunity to tap into it this year. So we're moving away a little bit from youth employment programs here. I'm going to talk about START, which many of you may already be familiar with. It's been around for a long time. It's offered through our Nova Scotia Work Centres, which exist across the province. And really here, you're receiving a financial incentive to hire any unemployed, ready-to-work Nova Scotian. And the funding that you get, it can be used for a number of things. You could be using it for their wage or their salary, or you could be using it for their onboarding costs or equipment costs, or funds to offset training when they start with you. Funding, it typically covers when it's often used for covering a wage or a salary. In most cases, it usually covers around 6 months, maybe up to a year. But that funding amount is determined on a case-by-case basis. And some of the things that are taken into consideration are the type of employment that's being offered, the wage that's being offered, whether the position supports a priority sector in Nova Scotia, which we do have a list of those I can share. And also if that job seeker is someone who's been out of the labor force for a long time, have they faced barriers to employment, and this opportunity is going to help them land a first full-time job. There are a couple of things there that are taken into consideration. Anyone, so for an employer to be eligible, they could be small and medium-sized business, including non-for-profits and social enterprises. The candidates that you're looking at hiring with this, so an unemployed person, they do have to go through our Nova Scotia work system and meet with a case manager and do a return to work action plan as a part of that program. So some of you may be familiar with this process, but if not, yeah, if there's a specific job seeker that you're looking at who you think could be hired with the support of this, they will have to visit Nova Scotia Works. They can get a self-marketing letter if they don't have a particular job lined up that will help promote themselves, but they do need to complete a return to work action plan. And there is a form of the START program that relates to apprenticeship. I'm not sure if there are any employers on our call today that do take apprentices, but you can get funding through the apprenticeship agency, which is kind of a part of our Department of Labor. And you could get up to $30,000 if you're hiring somebody in a rural area or an apprentice from a group underrepresented in the workforce. So again, for small to medium-sized businesses, including non-for-profits and social enterprises. And I did want to mention our Nova Scotia work system. So these are job centers that we have across the province. We've got over 50 locations. Since we're talking about Halifax specifically, some examples would be Job Junction, YMCA, Teamwork Cooperative, and at all of these job centers, they have employer engagement specialists. And really what they do is they'll connect with you as employers one-on-one and help you navigate any of these programs that we've just talked about. They are the folks who are kind of working on the grounds to help you make applications, figure out what your needs are. They even offer resources and space for conducting interviews and also accessing talent, because the other piece is that they're working with job seekers and folks who are looking to get connected with work, and often they can be that matchmaker. They can find you someone to hire through the START program or through a different program. So I do want to make you aware of that option, and on the Nova Scotia Works website, there are a list of all the locations, and you can reach out and ask to be connected with your local employer engagement specialist, and they can really help you with getting set up on LAMPs as another piece, as well as offering advice on how to grow and adapt during such a difficult year with the pandemic. So I'm excited to get to some of the questions in the chat and in the Q&A, but I am gonna pass it over to my colleague, Carla, and she's gonna switch us over from talking about wage incentives to hiring and training programs. Okay, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Margaret. I'm just going to share my screen here and we'll get started. Just give me a quick second. All right, great. So hello, everyone, and welcome. As Margaret said, my name is Carla Park, and I work within the Skills and Learning branch at LAE. However, I work within a different division called Workplace Initiatives. I'm here this morning to share with you some of our government training and hiring supports that will help you to grow your business. So before I jump in, I'm just going to give you a quick background on our division and let you know what we're all about. So Workplace Initiatives was set up about 15 years ago, and we are committed to helping small and medium-sized businesses with HR solutions, recruitment, training, and to also provide labor market programs and supports. So our division specifically focuses on building a productive, innovative, and competitive Nova Scotian workforce by partnering with employers like you, community organizations, and industry to ensure we have the skills we need as a province, leading to a thriving economy. So for my presentation today, it's going to be in two parts. This first part, I'm going to focus on the training supports. And we have three particular training programs to make training more accessible, more affordable, and to support learning in your organization. So the three that we're going to explore are listed here. The first one, it's a long one. It's a Workplace Innovation and Productivity Skills Incentive. We call it WIPSI for short. The second is Workplace Education Initiative, or WE, as we call it. And the third is SkillsOnlineNS. So I do apologize in advance, as there's going to be a lot of information coming at you. So let's get rolling. So the first program for training, WIPSI, is intended to support new skill development to help businesses compete outside of Nova Scotia. So it either partially or fully funds employers and industry associations to provide workforce training to full-time staff. So the training should improve productivity and profitability, of course, allow you to increase innovation, adapt to new technology, machinery, and equipment or work processes, increase interprovincial and international competitiveness, and also to foster workplace diversity. So if you can identify a training opportunity that would provide new and/or incremental skills to your workforce, that will result in, say, an expansion to your core operations or allow you to go in a new direction, then you could be eligible for WIPSI funding. So who exactly is eligible? So businesses, social enterprises, and revenue generating not-for-profits can all apply for WIPSI. You must meet, however, 4 criteria. So first of all, you must be located in Nova Scotia, of course. You need to be registered and active in the Nova Scotia Registry of Joint Stock Companies, over 1 calendar year into operations. And the last is generating at least 30% of revenue from commercial activity. Associations, sector councils, and private sector unions can also be eligible for WIPSI. They would have to meet the same 4 criteria as mentioned, but also you would have to have enough interest from your membership to submit an application with a minimum of $10,000 in direct training costs. So how the funding actually works, this is the important part. So for smaller businesses, and we call that, so 50 or less employees, WIPSI may fund up to 100% of training costs, up to a $10,000 amount, and then it would cover 50% over the $10,000 mark. For larger companies, WIPSI would fund 50% of training costs. What is also great is that WIPSI may also cover other expenses such as travel, books for participants, or even accommodations costs for persons with disabilities. So let's quickly look at what wouldn't be eligible for funding. And there's more listed. You can find our eligibility guide online on our provincial website, just to make that note. But a few things that wouldn't be covered under this training program would be legislated or regulated mandatory training, training outside of Nova Scotia when similar training could be offered in the province, orientation training or onboarding, informal training or training by internal staff. So just a note here, your trainer does have to be a third party. It can't be somebody within your organization or business or a family member. Apprenticeship training would not be eligible, or professional development of your employees, so professional qualifications or credentials. So the categories of training that's typically funded through WIPSI would be things such as IT, training on new equipment or technical training, workflow systems or processes such as Lean, or any other training that will benefit your business or organization that is not typically funded through other government programs. So the application process, as Margaret referred to, WIPSI applications would also be submitted through the online portal system LAMPS. The application must be submitted prior to the actual start of training. And the processing time is typically between 15 and 30 business days. Each application, of course, would be reviewed on its own merit and how well it meets eligibility, training fit, and return on investment. So both for the applicant as well as the province. So that's basically the ins and outs of the WIPSI program. Now I just kind of want to share with you a couple of real life examples from 2 Nova Scotia companies that benefited from using WIPSI in the past. It demonstrates how successful the program can be. So the first one, we have Hutchinson Acres. So this is a family-owned business in Nova Scotia, in Lake Paul, who produces premium maple syrup products. You may have seen their products in markets or stores around the province, or even maybe in your own household. With the new processing techniques that Chris and Anna Hutchinson learned with the help of WIPSI funding, they were able to increase their gross income from $183,000 annually to more than 677,000. They also were able to expand their market because before training, they sold solely in Nova Scotia. Now they have customers across Canada, in the US, in France, Germany, and even in Brazil. So the second example we have is the Orb Factory, the little toy company that could. So, like the little engine of storybook fame, Orb was a small player with a steep hill to climb to compete with the big toy companies. So this Nova Scotia company was once a 10-person operation, and they increased to 60 employees. They took their 30 million in sales to a projected 90 million in just 1 year. Diane Axel from Orb credits the bulk of their growth to the training they received on lean process improvement. Orb has reduced excess inventory, increased their customer base and sales, improved quality control, and even created an innovation lab. Amazing. So the second training support is the Workplace Education Initiative. And this focuses on providing essential skills development training for business owners, managers, and employees throughout Nova Scotia. So essential skills could be document use, literacy, numeracy, communication, or even digital technology. It's a very unique opportunity for your organization to bring relevant, customized training directly to your workplace. It may be delivered to just one single business or to a group of businesses, so a cluster program with common training needs. So we partners with amazing community groups, local business organizations, and industry sectors to determine training needs in the business community and to organize training programs for groups of businesses. By participating in this training, you can increase your profitability, build confidence and morale in your employees, improve communication, and even foster more creativity. So how it works is that courses are typically about 40 hours in length. They're generally delivered for 4 hours a week over a 10-week period. And through this program, funding to cover the cost of an instructor and support while the program is taking place is provided. So common programs that would be delivered through WE would be things such as business skills, leadership for communications, MS Office, social media, Sage 50, project management, and other topics that would allow your business to grow, adapt, and also expand. So what's really great is that with this program, we also have a team of workplace education coordinators, and they work across the province and within your regions. So the coordinator is there to support you through the entire program from beginning to end, including assisting with the application for funding. And of course, that's through LAMPS as well. They'll specifically guide you through 6 simple steps as listed here. So once you consult with that coordinator, they will help you to build a project team. Once the team is built, they're going to assess your workplace needs and provide a document outlining the educational needs and recommendations. Once that's done, you're going to set a goal and a training plan. You're going to hire that instructor who's going to develop the customized course based on your needs. And they're going to provide either on-site or virtual instruction to workers. The program would be evaluated throughout the process. They'll use probably surveys or informal observations or interviews. And then the final thing would be to celebrate. It's very important to acknowledge and celebrate both individual and corporate successes. So talking about successes, I have a couple examples of results that are definitely worth celebrating. So I have two Nova Scotia companies that provided some testimonials after participating in WE training. So the first one is Sizzler Barbecue Catering. We have owner Bruce McPherson who quoted, "I'm hard pressed to tell you which had more value. Both courses totally changed my world. I wish I had a time machine to go back and take these courses and started saving time and money earlier." And they completed the Sage 50 accounting and social media marketing. The second, we have Pete's Fruitique. "It gave me a whole new skill set that I can apply to the job," said Dan Francis. And Pete Luckett himself stated, "We noticed a difference in the employees right away, and the price was fantastic." So the price is fantastic. The price is free. Why not find out, reach out to a workplace coordinator, and see how you can build essential skill training in your workplace. So the third training program we have is SkillsOnlineNS. And this program provides access to hundreds of online training courses on work-related topics at no cost. It's designed to give Nova Scotian businesses the ability to provide important skills training to their employees. There are over 6,000 courses with hundreds of topics. I'm just going to name a few. We have HR fundamentals, business writing basics, social media, occupational health and safety, finance and accounting, and so many more that can be viewed online in their course catalog. And you could even register on their website as well. It's listed there at coursepark.com/ns. So as I said, training is available anywhere, anytime, 24/7. All you need to do is jump online. And what is great about this is that employers can even set up private learning networks to invite staff to participate in courses, and they could also track their progress. Individuals or employees can sign up anytime, take courses on their own to develop their skills and also their career prospects. So the second part of this presentation is looking at help finding employees or hiring supports. I do have two listed here. I know Margaret already touched on the second one. So we'll basically look at both of them, and I'll quickly skim over the second. So we have Job Bank, and then of course Nova Scotia Works. So Job Bank is a federal provincial online platform that allows you to post your jobs. So they have free tools and resources that can help you find, hire, and also retain the right workers. You can even learn about diversity and inclusion, explore the job market, and stay informed about employment standards. There's a lot to check out on their website. So if you go to the main site, it's here, jobbank.gc.ca, then you can find all these resources for free. Once you visit that main site, if you want to register, you can sign up for an employer account. And once that account is set up and your company profile has been created, you are free to post jobs anytime. So it requires minimum effort as well. You don't need to create your own job description, as you would select the job details from a list of thousands of predefined options. And you could even add a link to your own website. Easy peasy. And what is great is that your jobs are automatically matched to qualified job seekers through a feature called Job Match. You'll receive a list of potential candidates who match your job requirements. So the provided education or the years of experience you're looking for. And you can check out their profiles at any time and invite them to apply with just one click. What is also a bonus is that telephone support is provided to employers who need assistance posting their jobs on this system. We're available Monday to Friday. And if you do call, you're going to receive myself as I help to administer this program, or my colleague Laura. So give us a call anytime. And the second one as Margaret said, is the Nova Scotia Work Centers. And I just want to point out again that Nova Scotia Work Centers do cater to the employer side of things. Typically, it has been kind of the job seeker that has had the focus, you know, in reaching their employment goals and whatnot. But yeah, so these centers are there. We have 29 employer engagement specialists, and they provide in-person and virtual support, and they would help you to recruit, retain, and strengthen talented employees. They can assist in posting jobs, connecting you with government programs and funding, and providing any HR essential support that you need. And that is it for me. So hopefully, I know it was a lot of information, so hopefully we have learned a lot.
Thanks, Carla and Margaret. Amazing amount of information. Like you said, there's just a lot to digest. So the great thing about this webinar is that it is being recorded and will be posted live on our YouTube channel, probably by the end of today. We have lots of questions for you.
Great.
So I will work through the questions in the Q&A box. So our first one is, for WIPSI, we are a nonprofit looking to enhance our capacity for revenue generation outside of donations and grants. They're not at 30% yet, but that is our goal. Would they be eligible for WIPSI?
So that's a great question. That 30% revenue generating it can be considered if you're in a priority sector. So it depends. So if you're in, you know, for example, retail or manufacturing or something to that nature, or accommodations or food services, sorts of sectors wouldn't be considered for WIPSI. But if you are in a priority sector, they may look into, yeah, providing funding.
I should, my apologies, I should have clarified. They are with a nonprofit. And
yes, yeah.
Eating Disorders Nova Scotia. Does that make a difference for them?
So that is, yeah, that's a great question. That would have to be reviewed by our WIPSI team. We do have a team that are definitely experts, and I can look into that with them and definitely follow up.
Excellent, thank you. Next question. Can on-demand training that is blended of pre-recorded and live training be eligible for WEI, workplace education? So a blended of recorded and live, is that potentially funded for workplace education?
So I've only been involved in the courses that were provided live by the facilitators or the instructors. But, you know, maybe that could be something that could be set up for sure. That would have to be discussed with the workplace education coordinator and your project team to kind of see what your goals are and what the training plan is going to be.
Okay.
And I also, I think that during COVID, they've even been able to offer some of those virtually, like they've, instead of doing like in live in a classroom, you're doing them online.
Yes,
I myself am participating in a workplace education course right now, and it is virtual.
Yeah, and I just completed one course actually, so it's great.
In follow-up to that, where can they find the list of contact information for workplace educator coordinators in the regions? Is there a website list?
Yeah, so actually on our presentations on the bottom, we do have a site that we didn't really refer to. It's the Grow Your Business website for the province. So that contains all of our you know, funding, hiring, supports, training, and whatnot. So if you jump to that website, then you could click on the Workplace Education Initiative, and it will bring you to the page with all the information, and it will provide that contact for those 5 coordinators in the region.
Excellent.
And I will share that link in the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, we have a few questions here. So, can you hire more than one student and get funding for both?
Yes. Yep. If you're using co-op, or if you're using, for example, the co-op program, we've had employers who maybe they apply to have 4 co-op students, and because we need to share the funds across many employers and across regions, maybe we'll approve you for 2 or 3. It also depends on how students have rated working for an employer in the past. So they complete a student survey at the end of their co-op term, and we do use that information. So if they said their co-op terms were amazing, they got to apply all of the skills and knowledge from their education at the job, we're more likely to fund more positions for that employer next time. But yeah, we've had employers take up to 6 or 7.
Excellent.
So yeah,
I know here at the Chamber, we use this program. We have a regular rotation of co-op students every term, and they are fabulous to work with and a huge support for our team. So we definitely take advantage of the program.
Yes, you guys do.
Question number 2. Can you hire more than one student? Can an organization that is funded with the wage subsidy also get funding through the co-op program?
So if they're, for example, using a different wage subsidy and they want to stack it with co-op.
Right.
Yeah, they can do that for this summer as well. We are allowing the stacking this fall. It's not determined for winter yet, but you can stack if you're approved for co-op funding and that's something you're going to be using to hire a co-op student. You can stack that with a student. I'm going to type it into the chat. Student Work Placement Program. So if you look those up, those are all federally funded programs. For example, Venture for Canada is one you might be familiar here in Halifax. Another is Magnet, ICTC, Eco Canada. There's a bunch. So when we do this stacking arrangement, we're working really closely with those program partners. And if they approve you for funding for a co-op student and you're going to use both theirs and our funding, they'll cover that at around 70%, and we'll cover 70 or 75, and we'll cover it either 25 or 15. So you're going to get between 90 and 100% of
That's fantastic.
Co-op students, and that's something we've been doing the past year.
Okay.
So that we can spread the funding out across more positions by stacking and create more jobs for youth during COVID-19, which has been a struggle for sure.
Absolutely. So what you've described seems like a lot of paperwork. Is the process, what's the process? Is it a lot of work? Is it timely? How does that work?
Well, so you have to think a whole semester in advance. That's the thing. You're planning way ahead of time. And the first step really is reaching out to a co-op office. So say you want to hire a marketing student, you're going to go and look at all of the co-op offices that represent marketing co-op students. And you're going to send them a job posting and say, can you advertise this and endorse this posting? And then after they do that, they apply for, they go into LAMPS, which is our application portal with the province. They select the co-op program and they apply in that month window that we talked about. When it comes to then accessing one of these federal student work placement programs, their flexibility is much looser than ours at the province. So you could be applying 10 days before that student is supposed to start work, and that's okay. There's even cases where they fund retroactively. So if that student has already started work, that's okay too. Sometimes they have a lot more lenience around when you get your application in. So the first step would be applying for the co-op funding and connecting with the co-op office, and then the federal one comes after that. So in terms of paperwork for us, we're working really closely with those partners to make sure you get all the funding and all the money. We're trying to make that as easy as possible. But since you're submitting 2 separate applications, that might feel like more work. So I understand that, why you asked that question, Patty.
But more work, but the benefits, the ROI is tremendous, right? So if you can get funding up to potentially 95% of a student's wage,
yeah,
that's kind of a no-brainer for a small business to walk through that process.
Yes, and I just noticed there somebody is asking where, to find that list of those federally funded student programs. So I am going to share the full list in the all panelists and attendees. Okay. So that's a link where it will take you to the full list. And some of the really popular ones, ICTC, that's for anything that's going to be related to digital skills development. Yeah, I'll type in the popular ones in the East Coast here that are used heavily here in Nova Scotia.
Excellent. Okay, so we have a question in the chat box from Alexandra from Benjamin Bridge. Her comment is, they have found the process of hiring co-op students quite competitive, which is true. Universities are very competitive in their co-op programs. Do you have recommendations or tips for the best ways to incentivize students and make your workplace stand out? Benjamin Bridge is located in the valley, so they're unsure if the commute would be a factor for HRM students.
That is a really great question. I'm so glad you raised it. So something that we are trying to pilot this summer, Alexandra, is if co-op students have to make a move to a new region for their co-op placement, we may have some extra funds, maybe up to $1,000 that we can provide to help incentivize them in some way. So maybe that's help, with their gas money, or helping them with paying rent, or it's not a large chunk of money, but that's something we're piloting. If any co-op employers this summer think that is something that would help them, and help incentivize that student to work with them, then it may be something we continue, but we're piloting that this summer. So if you are having a co-op student this summer and you're trying to advertise, maybe reach out to me, and I can connect you with our corporate strategist who's coordinating that pilot. In terms of making your posting stand out, or your opportunities stand out to young people, there's a lot around understanding the generational differences between folks in the workforce, and younger workers may have different perspectives and expectations of what it is to work. And younger people like to see really feel aligned with, and like there's a sense of purpose with the work they get to do. And having the option to be involved in a lot of different things, and with a big picture kind of perspective. So yeah, happy to chat with you a little bit more about that offline if you'd like as well.
Awesome, thanks. This one's for Carla. What trends, if any, are you seeing in the training for training right now? What are employers looking for the most in their employees?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I actually met with the WE and WIPSI team yesterday, and we did discuss some of the kind of trends and the stats that have been floating around. Typically, we're seeing more business clusters. So for the WE program, so there's a lot of, the chambers or different community organizations are supporting the program and, you know, putting on or hosting courses for employers or nonprofits or whatnot. So we're seeing a lot of that. 93% actually was business clusters and 7% was only individual applications. So that was interesting. We're also seeing the top programs for WE actually was business skills, communication, computer skills, finance management, reading, writing. So those were kind of the top ones that were accessed or put on. And yeah, so WIPSI has been busy, I know that. They're, you know, putting on some training to allow businesses to export or to, you know, get online or to do some lean process sort of stuff, you know, to cut down on costs or to make things more efficient. So that's kind of been quite popular, for sure. So
excellent.
Yeah, there's funding there, access it.
One more question for you, Carla.
Yeah.
This person, my small business is growing and I could really use a student to help me, but I don't have time to train them. Is there any suggestions on helping to train students?
Yeah, so like I mentioned in my presentation, SkillsOnlineNS is a great resource to start. You can create, you know, that, you know, performance management. It's kind of that sort of tool because you can assign courses to your employees or you can get them to complete certain courses. So I think that's a great tool to kind of get started. It's free, of course. So yeah, and they can do it on their own time, whenever, you know, is convenient. So it's very affordable, very convenient. So I would start there. There's lots of different courses on there about business essentials and workplace topics. So
I'm going to check those out.
It's great. I just built a profile myself.
See?
Yeah.
I take
always
courses all the
learning.
time.
It's free to anyone, so.
Free,
always
yeah,
learning.
anyone.
I'm very curious to check out all of these different topics. We have one question here from Nearby Planet. Is there anything to help for a student that is already working for her? Can she apply for any of these funding programs if that student is already there?
So great question. So when it comes to our provincial programs, you do have to be approved in advance of the student starting their work with you. However, those federal programs that we were talking about, a number of them will support you retroactively. So after you have started, after the student has started, they can often still help. So depending on the kind of work that that student is doing, it depends which SWIP partner would be best suited. But again, I did share the list of all of those in the chat, which is something you should, yeah, that you can use to find out which one is the best fit.
Excellent. Great. Such great conversation. Love it. So we have one more question in our chat box. So the question is, can it be a job position that is created specifically for a student? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Yeah, when it comes like for co-op and skill, it has to be, you know, created for a student.
Very specific.
Yeah,
Okay.
if that's what they're, and then for graduate to opportunity and innovate to opportunity, that's specific for new grad, and then start any unemployed Nova Scotian of any age. And I should say we don't actually put an age limit on our student programs or our graduate programs, so that can support mature students as well. For example,
So
my dad.
I could.
Yeah.
I'm just graduating with my master's degree, so
Go
as a mature student. So
yep.
I'll let the chamber know that they could get funding for my job.
Let them know. Yeah. My dad has gone back to school in his 60s, and when he's done, he could be hired with the GTO.
That's fantastic. So this has been a great conversation, so much information. It's so valuable, right? Especially timely. We're We're coming into the summer and everyone is looking at a fresh outlook. We're optimistic and yeah, this is tremendous information. So I want to remind everyone that we are recording this session and you will be able to see it on our YouTube channel probably later this afternoon. We want to thank Margaret and Carla for their insight, their knowledge, being willing to answer your questions, and by providing their contact information, you can reach out to them directly. Want to remind everybody that we have lots of other events happening this month in June, so please take a look at our event calendar. We have lots lined up, and we are very excited now that we're moving into phase 2 of reopening. We are hosting our first in-person event. Fingers crossed. July 9th. It's a networking event and it's called Wine on the Waves. We're doing a little boat cruise and having some wine with Benjamin Bridge. We hope that you would consider coming out and enjoying a day on the water. So registration for that is now open, and Kayla just posted the link in our chat box. And that's it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a fabulous day, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
Thank you for having us.